Hello, my name is Megan Boissiere, and this is my first YouTube video ever. So I wanted to just create a video to explain my experience so far with plant communication because I get a lot of questions about it. So just kind of wanted to share my story and what has happened to get me where I am now. So I've always been interested in environmentalism. Um, so I've, been in recycling clubs when I was in high school and climate activism when I was in college. And when I think it was, I guess, 5 or 6 years ago now, I was initially kind of found out about herbal medicine. And from then on, after hearing that presentation that I heard, I was just, I found the thing. So, when you found the thing that you're just passionate about and you're just like researching it nonstop and reading, that was kind of that was my experience after I learned that about herbal medicine at all. So I would do a lot of research, like, find an herb that I thought was interesting. I would do a lot of reading online to see how people were using it, what the research was saying. And then I would buy some just dried from the internet, and then I would make some things and try them out and give them to my friends and family, use them for myself. And that was kind of how I just went kind of from herb to herb, broadening out that way. And that was really cool and it was fine. And then I had an experience where I wanted to get something that to help my brother with his depression. He was taking the psychiatric medications and they were really hurting his gut. So he, was really struggling. And so I really wanted to try to find an alternate way to help him. So I found this article, and it was shared by the Evolutionary School of Alchemical Herbalism, I believe it was. They have some really good stuff and really good resources. And it was an article that was posted around December a couple years ago, and it talked about the herbs who are light bringers. And I really, was reading just the more, not really scientific, but more personality ways that this writer was explaining certain plants who liked to help with emotional issues. So, pretty much out of desperation, I just purchased pretty much all the ones that I could find that were on this list and ordered them directly. I didn't even get time to do my normal research method, but I just figured we would start to try. So as soon as I got them, my main method was to just make tinctures. So I just put them all into tinctures and started to brew them. Oh no, I'll back up a little bit more. The one of the ones that I bought was called linden, linden flower and leaf. And it was a specific species of linden because I know linden is a pretty large family, but it was Europea, linden Europea. And I had an experience with that herb. That was, I guess, the first time that I experienced what I've come to just kind of verbalize as an energetic imprint. So basically what happened is that I was, I had unpacked the box of herbs. They're just different little clear bags of herbs. And I was just, inspecting them because I, hadn't done any research on them. I hadn't worked with them before. I didn't know anything about them. And linden, when I held the bag of the dried herbs in my hand, I felt, it's even hard to describe, I felt like just an energy from it that I can try to explain in words. And, I can say that it can explain that it felt like, I'll just use the keywords that kind of come up to explain something that's kind of unexplainable, but it felt like light green and baby pink and gentle love, unconditional love, community, support, heart, really, really heart centered. um, just loving, very, very feminine, and gentle. I guess like that's the essence of the energy. And that was what I felt just by looking at it and holding the bag of dried flowers or the dried flowers and leaves in my hand. And it was so weird because that has never happened to me before. So I reached out to um, a medicine woman that I was working with at the time, and I said, "Hey, I had this weird experience with linden. I don't know anything about it. What do you think? What do you think could be happening?" And her response to my share about what I was picking up from it and what I'm explaining as the energetic imprint, she said, "Oh, that's spot on. It's a heart herb." So that was really interesting, and I've come to learn a little bit more about linden over time because it's one that I really, really love. And it is all of those things, very, very gentle and loving and healing and calming. So that was my first experience with feeling an energetic imprint. And so let's see. Then after that, I continued to work with them as the herbs as far as making tinctures and just kind of experiencing them. Oh, I don't know if you could hear that. It's my Bluetooth speaker. I was listening to music earlier. Um, and let's see. So then I guess another important thing that happened in that time. Oh, I'll give you an update on my brother. So he ended up finding his passion. So he, like me, is a very passionate person, and before that point, he didn't have his thing. He, didn't have the thing that he wanted to put all of his passion into. So it was really difficult in that space. And he ended up finding his passion, which was glass blowing. And to this day, he's never tried any of the tinctures that I've made with all those Lightbringer herbs. But, everything happens for a reason. I wouldn't have had that experience if I didn't just step out of my normal scientific framework and try something new. So I just want to let you know that he is still all right. He's fine and doing well, blowing glass. So I would say that another important thing is my relationship with roses. I feel that working with roses for a couple years, I mean, that was definitely, and to this day still, just anything with roses, I'm just all about. Obsession is probably an accurate word for roses and I. I've used rose water, rose body products. I've made rose syrups, teas, decoctions, and I've tinctured it and turned it into a liqueur as well. And I've even put it in food, like I made rose cake and ice cream, and used it as a syrup on food, just any way that I can connect with herb and flower essences too. But I've connected with it in so many ways, and I feel like working with rose as a really beautiful heart herb, kind of like my experience with roses, it kind of gently peels back those layers of things that, wounds that we get to peel back and kind of examine and heal and release gently and slowly in, whatever speed feels right for us. And rose helped me to soften my heart. I credit Rose as my guide for even getting me to the point where I could be this sensitive with plants to feel those energetic imprints and the other experiences that I've had so far. So I just wanted to share that with you as well. And then there was one other experience that I wanted to share, which was kind of groundbreaking for me, the first time that I ever had a slightly different experience with my perceptions of a plant. So this was in April when the violets were blooming. I think it was April 2020. No, this is April 2020. I think it was 2018. And so I had gone to my favorite monastery Gethsemane, the Abbey at Gethsemane, the Trappist Monastery. I love the trails down there and hiking. It's so peaceful. And there was a retreat center down there. It's since relocated. But I used to stay at that retreat center. And in the front of the retreat center, the whole like lawn was full of violets and like blooming violets. And they were so gorgeous. And I'm a bartender too. So when I was seeing the violets, what first came to my mind was, ooh, I can make my own creme de violet liqueur and like make my own aviations and all these other cool hipstery cocktails. And that would be a really cool thing to do because I love DIY stuff and mixology and also like, which I'm sure I'll go through this more in another video, but like talking about alcohol and like the lack of labeling and my perceptions on some products that you just buy at the store. So I thought it would be really cool to try to make my own. So I asked if I could harvest some, and they said, "Oh yeah, totally." So I harvested them, and that was a beautiful process as well to connect with them and ask for permission. As I took and sustainably, not too many from each plant, and just went around and connected with them. They're very, very gentle, beautiful flowers. And when I got them home, I decided to make 2 jars. I did one in a vodka base and I did one in a brandy base because I just kind of wanted to see. I thought that my hypothesis was that the flavoring of the brandy infusion would be sweeter and better. I mean, yeah, better. But I wanted to see how much of the color of the violets would come out in vodka. So that's why I chose a clear base as well. Because I'm kind of curious about like, ooh, I wonder how much of the creme de violet that you buy at the store is coloring versus natural. So I wanted to do my own experiment in that way. And so after I made my tinctures, and I strained out the flowers. Then I added a little bit of sugar syrup that I made. It's a tongue twister. To kind of sweeten it a little bit and dilute it to a point that was about what a liqueur would be. And so I was tasting it for the first time after I made all my preparations, and I think it was the vodka one that I was tasting first. I just poured a teensy bit in a shot glass, and I was just tasting it. And at the moment that I tasted it, I felt, I heard in my ears. It was like these high tones. It was like these little, I don't know, I kind of explain it like little bells or kind of angelic singing voices that I was hearing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I was expecting to just make some cool cocktails and I could share some cute pictures on Facebook. That was really the whole purpose behind what I was doing. But I couldn't really deny that experience that I had. So I was kind of like, well, I don't know if I just in this one moment went completely insane or if I'm onto something. So I decided, let me try to make more and let me see what they're like. And so I made, I had a whole bunch of dried plants and I wanted to focus on flowers because I had already been on the flowers. So I think I made some of my first ones that I made after that were jasmine, chamomile, lavender, just, more common, I would say, dried flowers that I had already. So I wanted to see if they would sing to me too. And so I made them in like, to a certain extent, sometimes, I don't know if I put too much pressure on it or just like, I don't know. It's not 100% of the time that something weird and like mind blowing is going to happen in my experience so far. Just kind of like experimenting and testing it out and just seeing what happens. And then, so I had all of these liqueurs then that I made with all these other flowers. And I decided, what if I had other people try them too? I mean, the people that I trusted, who I knew, wouldn't judge me or anything. I would tell and have them try it, and they would experience some things. So I didn't think that it was completely, off the wall. So I decided to host an event to kind of like come out about it. And the name that came to me was Flower Communion. So, like, as a way to connect more deeply with the spirit of the flowers that was coming through, and like, and all the other synchronicities that I came to realize, like spirit, they call it alcohol spirit, and then the flower spirits are doing that, and they're using that as a pathway to come through to us in a way that we understand, in a more deliverable way, transferable way. And alcohol is very, very powerful. I mean, I definitely see that as a bartender myself. And, I'm sure if you have ever drank, especially to excess, you also know that the power that alcohol does have. And so I had this idea, what if we use that in a positive way? Because I don't think that power in and of itself is bad or dangerous. It's the way that it's wielded. So that was just my idea as a way to reclaim the power of alcohol to do something good, to connect us with ourselves and with the planet and with our hearts and with others, instead of the way that I would say that it's most of the time used as a way to detach from how we're feeling, from others, especially, when emotions are feeling difficult and we don't want to feel them, so we'll drink. Um, so that was kind of the few reasons that I had to want to start my flower communion events. I know, yeah, to see if anybody else experienced anything with them. And what I kind of learned is that I've had four or five events so far. Everything's paused right now because of COVID-19, but I will have another one whenever we can congregate safely again. But what I've learned so far is that, they're not the same exact experiences that people have. They're similar. I've noticed a lot of similarities in what different people have experienced with the different flowers. And so it's kind of creating this beautiful space where people can talk about what they're experiencing and what their intuition is telling them, and also build a trust with their intuition by getting validation from others. That's also what others have experienced, or slightly different. But it's been a very, very interesting journey so far. And and now I'm kind of branching out further to see what else is here, as I kind of grow and get more experience with my gifts, and connecting to trees, like, out in nature, who are currently alive. And I've had some experiences being able to, just holding my hand on the trees and feeling, there's a big evergreen, I believe it was a spruce, and when I held my hand up against the tree, I could feel this like really slow, calming pulse. It was like kind of, it felt like an energetic pulse. Like, but I've definitely felt it in my hand. There's other trees that I've felt heat from, or like seen colors, or experienced emotions and things like that. So it's just so fascinating. And I'm definitely, not an expert, but I'm so passionate about this. And I'm really excited to share my experiences with you and connect to others. And the whole goal here, what I've kind of summarized my mission, my vision for my life, is to assist others in connecting to the plants, to the planet, to their hearts, and to the hearts of others. So everything that I do, I'm filtering through that vision. And so I'm starting with sharing my experience with you and opening up my heart to you. and just kind of starting a dialogue around this topic and this potential that I've discovered. And I would love to hear from you. Any experiences that you've had or anything that you want me to talk about in particular too, because I will definitely be making some more videos and sharing some more specific stories in more detail. So thank you so much. My name is Megan, and I'm the creator of Pumpkin Patchouli. Have a great day.